Hey guys, welcome to the Weekend Toast. My name's Isaiah, and today we're going to be reviewing The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 5, titled The Jedi. And so, as always, I'm here with my friend Josh Offil. How you doing, man?
I am doing good, man. It finally happened. We've been hearing about it forever. Ahsoka Tano is on the live action screen.
Yeah, which, by the way, definitely one of my, I'll talk more about it later, but one of my pros of the episode. I thought Rosario Dawson did a great job.
Oh, good choice. Good choice.
Amazing choice.
Portrayal,
Amazing
yeah.
choice. Before we dive into the things we loved and hated, Josh, just let us know what happened this episode.
So, with his ship finally in shape, Mando arrives in the deforested planet of Corvus, where the Witch of the Wood has been murdering local townspeople who wander into the mists. Fortunately for our hero and countless fanboys across the world, this is just the person he's looking for, Ahsoka Tano. Turns out the magistrate of the town is evil and deserves some murdering. So Mando and Ahsoka team up to deal some old-fashioned Western justice, but not before Ahsoka pulls a Phantom Menace and refuses to train Baby Yoda. I mean Grogu. Anyways, the two kill all the baddies in town. Ahsoka sends Mando on another Baby Yoda, Grogu fetch quest, and we learn Ahsoka has a main target, and it's none other than Grand Admiral Thrawn. Nerds of the world unite. Lot of stuff for the Star Wars fanboys and fangirls to freak out over in this episode.
There definitely was. What were some of the things that you liked, man, this episode?
There's a lot of things. I really liked the opening. I kind of facetiously referred to it as she's like the evil witch in the wood, but like it was really spooky. That is not how we're used to seeing Jedi portrayed.
So no, that was one of the things that I have on my pros. Like I thought it was the best opening of The Mandalorian to date. Because it didn't, like, for me, so Dave Filoni was the director and writer of this episode. He was one of the not TIE fighters, he was one of the X-Wing pilots earlier in the season. Yeah. But he's the one who is like the creator of the Clone Wars.
Right.
And so he got this episode and just got to dive in, and this is all his stuff essentially, which was really cool. He also, I forgot this, he's the one who wrote and directed the Gunslinger episode last season.
We've talked so much about the Western vibe, which has been a huge aspect of what you've liked about it and what I've liked about it. There's so many homages, especially to Sergio Leone films. But if you know kind of your cinema history, the Western and the samurai film often inspired each other. Mm-hmm. And so I was talking to you about before this, one of my favorite things is when Ahsoka comes out into the main street, she comes off the right side of the frame and the wind's blowing against her. That is a very famous scene from Akira Kurosawa's Yojimbo, which Clint Eastwood, Sergio Leone's A Fistful of Dollars is based off of. So there's a similar deal going on there as well. And since she's a Jedi, that's the more obviously samurai inspired. You have this very famous shot. If you go look it up, look up Yojimbo and you'll immediately see the picture. But if you see the scene itself, you'll notice it's very similar. And so I love how they do those little homages saying like, hey, we're wearing our inspiration on our sleeve.
The lighting in the episode was just amazing. Like we all know Ahsoka's lightsabers are white, but just the way that they really contrasted that with, it was really cool, especially in that opening scene. I mean, it was the only light on her face essentially in the night. It was really cool. But then even just throughout the episode, the framing in certain shots, whether it's Mando and Lang walking out before he goes on his quest to kill the Jedi, when Ahsoka Tano and the magistrate are going at each other. If you notice, like it's this wide shot, but they're up and over. For me, I'm biased. This is my favorite episode of The Mandalorian so far, and not for the fanboy parts, just for the way that it was done.
Yeah, and I think we should emphasize that like, of course, you do. You could call it fan servicey to bring Ahsoka Tano and to have a reference to Grand Admiral Thrawn at the end, which we'll talk more about in a sec. But like the episode itself was just really good for all the reasons that you're saying too. And man, you are so right about the lighting, because that opening scene, if she has a green lightsaber, it's not as good,
right?
But the white lightsaber combined with the mist and the darkness, I mean, what the Mandalorian has showed us over and over again is whatever directors they bring in, they know what they're doing and they're trying to do creative things. And that's an exciting thing to see.
I mean, this is a Disney show, right? So there's only so much you can show in the fighting scenes. And so like there would be those things where when she jumps up there and she's about to cut a guy in half, the camera will just conveniently come around and she'll slice the big bell in half, and you just assume he must have got to, you know. And so
Right.
just even in the way that they can still portray these fight scenes in the way that I think we would hope they could, even on a Disney show, they it was just done so well. I was worried that like the fight with Ahsoka Tano and the Magistrate was going to be, I don't know, you know, like I was like, man, this is okay. Let's see how this goes.
I was with you when they first like posed to do their fight scene or whatever. It was super slow,
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh gosh, what's this gonna be?" But I thought that was choreographed pretty well
yeah,
in the end. But like the way that she like grabbed the spear at first, I was just like, "This does not bode well." Like it
right,
just, but it turned out fine. Yeah, it was entertaining, and it wasn't long either. You know,
right.
it was just like, let's get down to business.
One of the things I was worried about was that this was going to be like a two-part episode. And they only have 8, so it's not like they can waste time on this, but I really was hoping they weren't going to give us that episode where he and I know this episode was leaked in a number of places. I stayed away from those, so I know most people probably weren't worried about this as I was, but jumping in I was like, oh, he's gonna land on this planet and he's gonna spend an episode with her kind of just lurking around, and then he'll find, and then they'll meet in the next episode, and they jump straight into it, which I really appreciated.
Yeah. I was thinking more like you. I hadn't heard of any of the leaks or anything, but just kind of the pacing of the show as it's been. It's like it'll often tell you next week this, but
Hmm.
it's, oh, we're gonna do something before that.
Which is one of the
Um,
beauties. To your point, you said at the beginning of the
mhm.
season, like the episodic nature. What were some of the things, though? I know we're just raving about this episode, but what were some of the things, if any, that you were like, I don't know.
There wasn't like a lot going on in this episode. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but like I mean, you can summarize it up as he comes to Corvus, he meets her. She's like, "Help me out with this." And I don't want to train Baby Yoda either. Also, I have other motivations. Here's your next stop to go. It's very quick.
Hmm.
So there wasn't, I felt like it did a good job of not providing the opportunity to suck in certain places. I was not impressed with the magistrate's acting very much, but she was very
Really?
limited. Yeah, I was just kind of, I don't know.
Okay, so just on that though, so Diana Lee Inosanto, she's the daughter. She's like, her career primarily has been as a stunt director and a martial arts trainer in movies, and
Right.
so she's like she's the goddaughter of Bruce Lee. Actually, her parents are super
Okay.
super famous. I guess knowing that about her, I was like, I probably gave her more credit than yeah, like if you're putting her up against Rosario Dawson, I don't think she did
I
that
might
great.
be a little biased because what if it wasn't her first line, it was one of them. She goes, "I've been expecting you." I rolled my eyes hard at that because like movie cliche, but like to make too big of a deal at that would be ridiculous. And
Mhm.
as broken as I can be, in my cynicism sometime, I really don't want that to weigh down the rest of the episode. But I'm sorry, standing above the dark tower, looking down at the hero, I've been expecting you. So, what do you think about Ahsoka being so dark? Because I did not, by any stretch, I've watched like the Mandalorian episodes
Mhm.
of Clone Wars and the Darth Maul one.
From what I know about it, I think that it furthers some of the things. It furthers, if you know much about where they left off with her in the Clone Wars. I think it furthers along. It brings up more questions, honestly, and I think it gives us a lot of room to explore some things with her. But I mean, if you remember, she actually is not technically a Jedi. She left the Order after they
Mm-hmm.
all come after her, because she was framed. She proves her innocence, but she's seen too much, so she lives in this like middle. So one of the big questions I have is like, why is Ahsoka Tano looking for Thrawn? Is it because she thinks Ezra's still alive or all of this stuff? But I think the darkness you see in this episode, kind of just lends to the assumption of some of the stuff that's maybe happened since the Clone Wars. So because I thought it was funny, they titled the episode "The Jedi," and really she's not a part of the Jedi,
Mm.
which is, you kind of see that in just her reluctance to train him, which I loved that reference that she had when she was talking about when, after Mando gets Baby Yoda to take the little gear shift knob from him, and Ahsoka's like, "All right, I'm not doing this. I'm not training him. I've seen what can happen when somebody is trained with such strong emotions." And she's talking about Anakin, her
Right.
being Anakin's Padawan, her seeing what that can lead to. I thought that was a cool little nod to the series.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know that I did not watch these episodes, so sorry, the Super Star Wars people, if I'm not all in on this. So they had some kind of antagonist. He was some kind of antagonist in the Star Wars Rebel show later. But if you ever read, any of you out there, the Timothy Zahn trilogy I think it's Heir to the Empire or something from like the 90s. So this is before the prequels.
Hmm.
They were written as direct sequels to the original movies. Thrawn, that's where Thrawn comes into the picture. He's a former admiral for the Empire and is trying to like restore things. I thought they were actually pretty great. I've listened to all of them after I watched Last Jedi, and I thought everything was trash, and I just wanted anything that was new Star Wars. So that's the only Star Wars like expanded universe stuff I've ever really done,
You've
other than
really
like Clone Wars.
jumped into. What did you think? We got the one of the, I would say probably the biggest reveal is Baby Yoda's name, Grogu. What did you think about that?
I still going to call him Baby Yoda.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know.
Grogu is a weird name. It's kind of hard to say. They're like, they want their main characters to be Din Djarin and Grogu. Like, are we supposed to be able to say these in conversation and have people understand us? It's not a big negative for me, but I'm not a fan.
What did you think about his like that exposition scene where Ahsoka Tano and him chat, with the mind, and we get the story? What do you think about Baby Yoda's like story?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the story itself is fine. I thought the delivery of it was a little ham-fisted, but it's a little overdue. They're Jedi, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was an info dump, definitely.
It did bring up one of the questions, though. Ahsoka Tano tells us that the story is Baby Yoda was trained in the Jedi Temple, had multiple trainers, and then went with the rise of the Empire and the fall of the of the temple, that Baby Yoda was, or Grogu, sorry, yeah, it's gonna be hard. That Grogu was hidden away. But then one of the big questions I have is like, well, then who stole Baby Yoda from the temple?
That's a good question.
And so it's like, I wonder who they're going to. Wonder if they're going to explain that at all this season. If they're going to leave that open for maybe some more story later, or if they're just not even going to mess with it. You know what I mean? Like it could just be one of those things like, yeah, he was stolen, and there you go.
And whoever stole him, we know from the beginning of the series, expended a lot of resources trying to protect them.
So one of the cool casting choices that I thought was getting Michael Biehn to play Lang, who, like as you know, was Kyle Reese in the Terminator series. That standoff between him and Mando of words, honestly, it was a standoff of words. I thought that was really cool. During the fight with the Magistrate and Ahsoka Tano, I was more actually tense when they would cut back to Mando and Lang. Like that was the part of that fight scene that I was like, ooh, what's going to happen here?
Yeah, I like the contrast in that, right? The in-your-face action and then the suspense that is the cutaway.
Right.
But yeah, man, like on that note, let's just this season with cool casting choices. Timothy Olyphant, who's famous for playing sheriff in Deadwood and U.S. Marshal in Justified, is the Marshal in this scene. Who will be Boba Fett when he comes back around? That's the original actor, right? Who played Jango Fett.
I forgot about Boba Fett already.
Yeah, I know. Which that's just waiting in the background, which I'm totally cool with that. But that's cool. Rosario Dawson for Ahsoka is a great casting choice. And then, but yeah, the guy who played Kyle Biehn, whatever his name is,
Michael Biehn.
Michael Biehn from Terminator. Is this so? It's like every episode you get to like look like, ooh, do I recognize who this is, or do I remember what they were in? So it's very much like almost like a love letter to if you've been watching movies for the last 40 years.
Yeah. How do you feel? It was probably the low point of the episode for me, but then again, I don't know what I was expecting. I would say the low point of the episode for me was the ending. Kind of that whole, like, they finish this, they liberate the city, they assign a new leader, which cool. The one guy that didn't really talk much.
You don't know that. Maybe they were just giving him a jacket. Maybe he didn't have a jacket and it was his birthday. And because that was, you see how those told us they just put robes on him?
That's how.
I'm assuming he's taking over the planet, but
that's how little I care about it. But then at the end, just to have the whole, like, so he's going to go get Baby Yoda or Grogu. He's going to go get Grogu, and then walks out, door comes down, and she's there. And she's like, I can't train him. And he's just like, wait, what?
Yeah, that part was like, I mean, you knew the story could not handle, oh yeah, sure, I'll take him off your hands. I'd love to train him.
What I thought was gonna happen was one of those, like, I leave him here, and then there's, whether it's regret or something he forgot, or a hey, they're in trouble and he has to come back thing that would reunite them. Like, for sure, I didn't think that they could last. This couldn't be where he genuinely just, him and Grogu split. but it was kind of annoying to me when it was just like the door comes down and she's like, "Hey, yeah, thanks, but come on, you know I can't do this."
That was another thing that was like, I obviously the story can't do this, and I even get her motivations, but the
Mhm.
execution was a little sloppy.
That's the low point in this episode. I'm totally fine with it.
Same,
This still is
same.
my favorite episode of it. Who do you think is going to be at Tython? That is the one that supposedly they're leading towards Yoda's gonna have to connect with someone else that's a bit more about the Jedi. Ahsoka Tano, and she even says that there's not a lot around. Who do you think is going to be out there? There's been rumors of a Mace Windu spinoff. Is it going to be Luke himself? Like, who do you think could be out there?
Well, it can't be like an original Jedi character, right? Like
Could
we can't
it?
get. I don't know. Like, do you think that that's where the series is going? Where they're like, oh,
Uh,
this is Timmy the Jedi who survived the Great Holocaust at the temple, and he responded to the call. He's really important. I know we haven't brought him up before. I'm thinking that a side character from one of these shows, maybe even like a comic or something,
mm,
something that like a diehard Star Wars fan would know, and you could has a tradition in the. I'm thinking more expanded universe type stuff, not the movies.
yeah.
Someone like that shows up. What did she say? Like go to the temple and like the
There's a,
Force will call people or
well, she
something?
said
Or
that there's a essentially there's a there's a pedestal that you're gonna sit Baby Yoda on, and if he chooses to reach out with the Force, essentially it being like a beacon, and then a Jedi will come and find him.
like Cerebro.
Yeah, pretty much, except the other
Yeah,
way
he's
around.
gonna. Right.
Baby Yoda
Right.
uses Cerebro to go out, and then they come, which would have been great for Xavier and Magneto when they were recruiting everybody for first class.
Mm.
I almost think like it has to be a bigger character at this point. And I'm thinking through, this has nothing to do with other than the fact that there are 3 episodes left. And I think if it's
That's
not
true.
someone mainstream, then you run the risk of, I've mentioned this before, like at some point this has to culminate in something. You still got Moff Gideon out there, you still have Bo-Katan, you still got Boba Fett, like you still got all these things that we've set up, and you have 3 episodes to put a bow on it. And I'm sure there's going to be a season 3 cliffhanger, but I don't think any of those things can be that cliffhanger. Moff Gideon was the cliffhanger from last season. Um, as far as just like bringing him in, and so I'm wondering, for that reason, I think it has to be somebody a bit more mainstream to kind of speed this thing up.
Do you think that they, the new or the Empire Remnant and Moff Gideon do like an assault on like the ancient temple, and we're gonna have like this overgrown ancient kind of
Oh,
temple, and I have those like dark robot troopers he was showing us last time show up, and
ooh.
dude, I think that might be what happens.
I
You have
have
this contrast between like the Empire and the old ancient
man,
Jedi, and Mandalorians are there.
that could totally be it. I'd be down for that.
Yeah, I'm saying that's gonna happen, and the finale might be a two-parter where they, because that's kind of how it happened last time, where you got a cliffhanger on the penultimate episode,
Mm-hmm.
but then the last episode is when they're besieged. And I say that the season ends with Baby Yoda in Moff Gideon's hands.
What?
Oh yeah. I mean, what are
By
they going to repeat
choice?
last season?
By choice?
No, 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 no. I think he's going to attack him and he's going to win,
Oh man, I don't know. That's a
dude. I
bit.
mean, and then next season we'll be getting him back. That's going to be rather than protect. What is he going to do? Buddy road trip for 3 seasons in a row? That's what I'm saying. You heard it here first, everybody. So all those other YouTube videos that maybe know their Star Wars comics and maybe have production value a little higher, they didn't get
Whoa,
this. You heard
whoa.
it here at the Weekend Toast first.
Can you imagine leaving people on a cliffhanger like that for a whole year?
Oh, dude, could when season 3 hit though, it would explode. People would be like, "You've got to save him." You would be so emotionally attached to him after 2 years of buildup.
I think they're going to go the route of like a major death.
Major death.
Yeah, or a death of one of the major characters.
But like my thing is, if you kill, I mean, major characters though, it's Baby Yoda and Mando are the only major characters. Everybody else is a
Let's say,
guest starring.
well,
Uh,
let's say treasured characters.
Obviously, Ahsoka. What about like Bo-Katan?
Yeah, I think both any of these characters that have played, like they've been the major supporting character that like people have gotten excited about. Like I can see them, whether it's like Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka Tano.
I don't know if any of them have enough buy-in to this story to make viewers of this show feel bad. Like to me, for Mandalorian, Carl Weathers and Gina Carano's characters have more emotional buy-in by the fans of this show. So like I could totally see like Ahsoka or Bo-Katan dying. I mean, Bo-Katan's more of a minor character, but like for to kill Ahsoka off, if she's only in like 3 episodes, like you have to buy into the fact that she's in this show, and then her death, not only because her death has to wrap up a whole arc of being on all sorts of different shows for the last 10 years or whatever. I don't think they could just do that in the second episode, because and not only would there be outrage, but I don't think that it would be very dramatic story-wise, just because she has so little buy-in to this story.
And they just plugged the whole Thrawn arc. Like clearly she's got her whole she's got her own journey to go on. Is it safe to say then that the overall success of whether this season is not good or bad, but better than last year or this year, hinges on this next episode?
Ooh.
Because if they're going to 2-part the finale, even if it's heavily on the last episode, but if like 7 sets up the finale episode, I feel like 6 could be the one that makes or breaks the season then.
We've got one more episode left where I think it's appropriate to have a little 1-episode adventure. Like if they get sidetracked on the way to Tython, that's going to roil me a little bit in a way that it didn't necessarily. Like what roiled me about Mando crashing on the ice planet that whole episode was not the fact that he got sidetracked. It was just stupid. Like he's been getting sidetracked this whole time. That's fine. If they did it here, then the pacing for the end would, I don't know if they could wrap it up well. So in that sense, I think you could be right. So that is what we have for you for this week. Tune back in next Friday. We have the regular show of the Weekend Toast, where we talk about all sorts of things at noon. And then at 4 o'clock Central Time, we will have our review for 206 of The Mandalorian. We are looking forward to seeing you guys there. And thanks for watching today.